Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight, the Prime Minister begs Bahamians to avoid traveling abroad unless absolutely necessary. Police crack down on a crowded nightclub. But is it enough? Plus, progress on the NASSAU cruise port. Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm KRISTINA DRAGOVICH. Topping news tonight, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis says once a vaccine for COVID-19 becomes available, he will be among the first to get it. In a communication to Parliament this morning, Dr. Minnis begged Bahamians to not leave the country for the time being. Kyle Joaquin reports.
Whenever the vaccine is introduced into the Bahamas, I most certainly will be one of the first to receive the vaccine.
Minnis says the government is working with the World Health Organization and others to secure the vaccine for the Bahamas whenever one becomes available. 2 vaccines have demonstrated high levels of success during trials so far. In the meantime, Minnis says the Bahamas and the world remain in the grips of the COVID-19 battle, with the United States once again reporting record numbers of cases. Prompted the Prime Minister to repeat his call for Bahamians to stay at home and only leave the country for emergency purposes.
I beg and I plead with all Bahamians to stay home unless it is absolutely necessary to travel overseas. Walmarts can wait.
Minnis said it turns out some Bahamians are traveling abroad and seeking to beat the system by trying to present the results of COVID tests taken at home.
I wish to be very clear and remind Bahamians and residents traveling overseas that no COVID-19 RT-PCR test taken in the Bahamas is valid for a travel health visa in order to return to the Bahamas.
Now, there was a point during this communication when the protesters got very loud and you can hear them from upstairs in the House of Assembly. Well, so did Minnis. When the shouts of protesters reached the windows of the House of Assembly, just about every MP present raised their head and looked around to see each other's reaction. And Minnis said this.
I think I hear the noise in the background, but I would hope to God that those individuals are wearing their masks.
Still, the Prime Minister said the country is doing extremely well in the fight against COVID-19, having reported 11 new cases yesterday. However, health officials said there was a deficit in the number of labs that reported on Tuesday. As hospitals around the world once again experience a shortage of beds amid a third wave of coronavirus, Minnis says Bahamians must follow protocols to avoid the same from occurring in the Bahamas.
Some are saying that the coming winter will be a disaster. It will be a dark winter, and some are even saying that it will be hell. We would not like to meet or reach that level of chaos within our society.
For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, a young prison officer will spend the next 7 months behind bars after pleading guilty to drug possession charges. Bethany McDermott has the details.
28-year-old corrections officer Ivan Forbes, seen here in the blue and white shirt, was sentenced to 7 months behind bars after he pleaded guilty during his appearance before Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt on 3 counts of possession of dangerous drugs with the intent to supply. It is alleged that on November 16th, Forbes was found in possession of Indian hemp with the intent to supply to another. The court heard that around 1 p.m., Superintendent Demerit, along with a team of officers acting on information, proceeded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections. Upon arrival, the officers spoke with Chief Corrections Prison Officer Curtis, who identified the defendant to the police officers. Officers searched Forbes and found 3 black-taped packages in his jacket. A closer examination of the package revealed it was a quantity of marijuana with a street value of $400. A further search revealed $78.65 in Forbes' right pocket. The money was confiscated and is suspected to be the proceeds of crime. The court also heard that on that same date, while at Forbes' residence, officers searched the white Honda Accord's trunk and found a white club cooler box, which contained a brown paper bag with 2 black-taped packages, each containing a quantity of marijuana valued at $580. Then at his second residence on Moonshine Drive, the defendant pointed out a silver Nissan March where officers found another brown paper bag with an additional 2 black taped packages, each containing a quantity of marijuana valued at $840. Forbes' attorney, Jomo Camel, told the court his client is a married 28-year-old with no convictions and no pending matters. He said he admitted guilt at the earliest opportunity, adding Forbes is the major breadwinner in his home and has suffered from a severe diabetic condition for 4 years. Ferguson Pratt told Forbes he had found himself in some, quote, hot water, end quote, and added it would be an affront to justice and would send the wrong message if she handed down a fine alone. In addition to the 7-month sentence, the former prison officer was fined $1,500 on count 1, $2,000 on count 2, and $2,500 on count 3. Failure to pay the fine before the end of his prison sentence will result in 12 additional months in prison. The drugs were confiscated and destroyed. Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
One day after police closed down a crowded nightclub, Minister of National Security Marvin Dames says it is clear some people don't care. Giorgio Bain reports.
Minister of National Security Marvin Dames responding to a video making its rounds on social media of a club clearly not adhering to COVID-19 protocols. According to Dames, some residents seem determined not to adhere to those restrictions, but the police will continue to do their job of shutting these businesses down. This video of several police officers shutting down a local nightclub on Tuesday night shows scores of persons, some not wearing masks, pouring out of the small building on Madeira Street in Palmdale. Some patrons rushed out of the club with drinks and bottles in their hands as officers entered the building and ordered employees to produce their identification. Police say officers were alerted to a social gathering after 6 p.m. The proprietor and manager received citations for hosting a social gathering and not practicing social distancing, while some patrons were cited for attending a social gathering and failing to practice social distancing. Dame says at this point, he's not even sure if stricter penalties will work.
Some persons don't care, and you don't only see it here in the Bahamas. I mean, you see it all over the world. In Europe, in the United States, North America, throughout the region, there are persons out there who feel as if they are invincible.
According to the National Security Minister, the police force is prepared to continue to shut down these businesses and to ensure that those hell-bent on breaking the law are punished.
We have to use what we have at our disposal to make certain that those who are defiant and who refuse to adhere to the emergency orders are dealt with to the fullest extent of the law.
He added the government is aware that it has to make some tough calls to keep Bahamians safe during the COVID-19 pandemic. However, he says officials also want the ailing tourism industry to rebound.
If you look at what's taking place throughout Europe, in the UK and France and Spain and those places, now that they're having a reoccurrence, we cannot afford as Bahamians, who rely so heavily on tourism, to let our guards down and to allow this virus, to take this country over.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
Well, a woman who was caught on camera having her hair pulled by a police officer outside that nightclub is speaking out tonight. Jared Higgs has that.
This confrontation between a 24-year-old woman and a police officer sending shockwaves online. The video was recorded after Lavonia Adderley and dozens, if not hundreds of others, were escorted out of Charms on Tuesday night.
A lot of people was there. When I come there, it wasn't even that much people. So I just was chilling with them, my food. Times my food finished, the police was still there.
In the video, Adderley has her food knocked out of her hand. She says it was after a female police officer pushed her. After she reacts, a woman police officer pushes her and she pushes back. That's when the situation escalates and the officer can be seen pulling the woman's braids and even taking aim at the woman's face.
I'm not even mad. I'm all disappointed because it could have get handled better than get handled. My mommy is a police, so I respect the police just because my mommy is a police, and I have more respect for them.
As a matter of fact, Adderley's mother can be seen in the video holding her daughter and pulling her away from the officer. She says she thinks she would have gotten roughed up worse if her mom wasn't there.
My mommy was right behind me trying to telling her, This is my daughter. It's other way we can handle this. She ain't listening to my mommy, I guess, because she's in a uniform too, and she higher than my mommy, so.
According to police, an establishment on Madera Street was shut down and its owners were cited for breaching the emergency order. Some of the attendees were also ticketed. Video of dozens, if not hundreds of patrons leaving a club circulated on Tuesday night. Adderley wasn't fined, and she responded to critics who say she was wrong for attending a crowded party.
Yeah, if we shouldn't be in that Charms, why Charms is open for the public? Charms open for the public, but then it wasn't even curfew yet. But I understand why they do it because, yeah, it was they don't want nobody partying after a funeral. But we also got to deal with it in a different way. Not because, yeah, use the law, but don't come hitting people if they didn't hit you, because all of we is humans.
Now, Adderley doesn't want that officer to lose her job. She says she thinks some disciplinary action might be required, but she just wishes the situation was handled differently. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Thanks, Jared. Well, it's been a windy day. Here's Greg Thompson with our first look at weather.
Thanks, Christina. Our first look at weather tonight is being brought to you by Lactogen 3, distributed by Lightburn Trading Limited. Breezy conditions once again outside our studios. Temperatures are in the 80s, comfortable outside. Very strong winds out of the east at 18 knots. Your feels like temperature around 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Satellite view around the area. Frontal boundary now parked across the central Bahamas. Lots of clouds out there. That cold air mass moving across the area, bringing those cloudy conditions across our area. That will continue tonight through tomorrow. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come on Our News, multi-million-dollar aerial drones join the fight against crime. Plus, the Nassau Cruise Port project is progressing. That's coming up when Our News returns.
Just when you thought the year would end dry, Rev came through with Magic and Holiday Cheer. Our cashback will double, making more spirits rise, with chances to spin and with a dope random prize. The rules are quite simple. You can find them online. Just sign up for Trio and pay your Rev bill on time. Our grocery store dash is sure to bring smiles as 16 lucky winners tear through the aisles. Call 601-8992 or visit rev.vs/promotions to find out how you can win with Rev's Field of Magic giveaway. Rev, you and us, together.
Four unmanned aerial system drones today unveiled by the Ministry of National Security. The $17 million contract was signed back in December. National Security Minister Marvin vows that the drones will bring record-level crime reduction.
The box opens, the drone launches, goes directly to where the shot came from. And it does it very, very quickly. It doesn't have to worry about, I got lost.
Heads of the various law enforcement agencies say the drones will add much-needed support.
This commitment on behalf of the government of the Bahamas is some $17 million. And, you know, we've been following some of the threads on social media and elsewhere who felt that we could have just take a trip to Toys R Us or Walmart and purchase some drones. But this is much more involved than that.
Well, in other news, police say they're following significant leads in their investigation into last night's double shooting in Elizabeth Estates that left a man in his 30s dead. ASP Audley Peters updated reporters at the scene.
The preliminary facts are that shortly after 7 p.m., two men approached a residence on Commonwealth Boulevard, and as they did so, another vehicle came behind them. The occupants of that vehicle exited the vehicle, armed with firearms, and discharged their firearms in the directions of the occupants.
Peters says both men were shot in the torso. They were being transported to hospital in a private vehicle, but spotted an ambulance on Eastern Road.
The victims were transported to hospital via private vehicle. However, while on the Eastern Road, an emergency medical vehicle was stopped. Medical attention was rendered to both men. However, one of the victims succumbed to his injuries.
And work on the Nassau Cruise Port project continues following the demolition of Festival Place and the old Customs building. CEO of Nassau Cruise Port Limited, Mike Mora Jr., says the next step will involve marine construction.
Obviously, the demolition of the customs warehouse and the demolition of Festival Place, are two very significant monumental events in their own right. It is going to be exciting to begin to see the piles being driven to create a new Oasis class berth. It's going to be exciting to see the sheet pile coming together. It's going to be exciting to see the sheet pile being driven to the west end of what's called Berth 16 to create additional commercial space for authentically Bahamian and Bahamian experiences.
Nassau Cruise Port's $250 million transformation will include a waterfront park, a new inner harbor, and a Junkanoo museum. Global Port Holdings is spearheading the project under a 25-year management agreement.
Nassau is going to be ready for the return of this cruise industry. And these are going to be very exciting times in the not too distant future for not just Nassau Cruise Port, but for all Bahamians that are either in the tourism sector, benefiting from the tourism sector, but just Bahamian residents and hotel guests that want to come down to this fabulous new waterfront and experience something that they won't find anywhere else.
Still to come, concerns over Exuma's high COVID positivity rate. The details when Our News returns.
This is a huge deal. NFL Sunday Ticket is back, only with Rev Trio. All day football, all day Sunday. Enjoy all the benefits of Trio with a huge extra. Never miss a game with NFL Sunday Ticket, included in your Rev Trio bundle. All you have to do is opt in. TV, phone, and internet starting at just $99. Call 601-8992 to sign up now. Visit www.rev.bs/promotions for details.
This is Our News. Welcome back. Exuma's COVID crisis worsening as health officials say the island's positivity rate is 79%. During a virtual town hall meeting for Exuma residents, officials recommended a limit on persons allowed in stores and restricting travel to essential needs only.
Recommendations that are currently on the table from the team. And so now that these recommendations are made, we will have to have a collaboration with agencies in the public sector and the private sector to include other governmental ministries and departments, national security, tourism, and the like, local government, in order to flesh out what these recommendations are going to be on the ground and what the implementation will actually look like.
Medical consultant in the Office of the Prime Minister, Dr. Marceline Dahl-Regis, advised residents against attending in-person church services.
That presents a big risk. Everyone is sacrificing to prevent the spread of COVID, but that goes against the recommendations. And we know that there is spread when you have unmasked singing and movements and lack of social distancing in churches.
In other news, nearly 200 protesters marched around the House of Assembly demanding equal rights for all Bahamians. Taking a page out of the book of Joshua, they circled the House of Assembly several times, chanting, "This is our house." Political aspirants, church leaders, and community activists gathered in solidarity, advocating for Bahamian ownership of natural resources and equality for all Bahamians.
I am calling on Bahamians from every walk of life today to write your member of parliament, to write letters to the editor, and to let your voices be heard.
We believe that the natural resources should be for the benefit of the Bahamian people. We believe that there should be a true sovereign wealth fund.
We encourage the mining of aragonite by any and everybody, but Bahamians must benefit.
Well, tonight in sports, on the eve of the NBA draft, Bahamian Buddy Hield wants out of Sacramento. Marcellus Hall tells us why.
Welcome to Sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall here on this Hump Day Wednesday. You're wondering probably why is Buddy Hield's picture up? It's because it seems as if he's not entirely too pleased with the way things are going in Sacktown. As you know, he's really talking about being traded. For more on that, let's take a look. Well, despite just recently signing a contract extension with the Sacramento Kings, Bahamian NBA player Buddy Hield apparently not too happy with his current situation. According to a number of sources, Hield has expressed a desire to be traded, with the Dallas Mavericks being his destination of choice. The request by Hield comes as the NBA enters its free agency and trade period ahead of the upcoming season scheduled to begin on December 22nd. No word as to whether the Kings will look to move him or keep him as a member of the team going forward. And speaking of the NBA, the league scheduled to hold its annual NBA draft this evening with the Minnesota Timberwolves holding the first pick. They're followed by the Golden State Warriors, Charlotte Hornets, Chicago Bulls, Cleveland Cavaliers rounding out the top 5 picks. And so we'll give you a full breakdown of whether or not Buddy stays or leaves Sacramento. That will not be determined for quite some time, I would imagine. Meanwhile, I'll give you full details of tonight's NBA draft coming up for you tomorrow. That's a check on sports. I'm Marcellus Hall.
Still to come, meteorologist Greg Thompson is back in the weather studio. Plus, ZONTA launches 16 days of activism. Stay with us.
This is a huge deal. NFL Sunday Ticket is back, only with Rev Trio. All day football, all day Sunday. Enjoy all the benefits of Trio with a huge extra. Never miss a game with NFL Sunday Ticket, included in your Rev Trio bundle. All you have to do is opt in. TV, phone, and internet starting at just $99. Call 601-8992 to sign up now. Visit www.rev.bs/promotions for details.
Welcome back to Our News. How long will these windy conditions in the capital last? Greg is in the weather studio with a look at the week ahead.
Thanks again, Christina. In our second look at weather, we take a look at our satellite view around the area. Frontal boundary draped across the central Bahamas, still providing some cloudy conditions across the southeast and central islands. We do have some cold air mass moving across the northern Bahamas. That's producing some cloudy conditions across that area as well. High pressure, strong high pressure to the north, producing those strong winds. Gale conditions continuing across the northwest and central Bahamas. We're asking you boaters to remain in port. Northwest Bahamas to central Bahamas, boating forecast tonight through tomorrow. Northeast to east winds 20 to 30 knots with gusts to near gale, 5 to 7-foot seas. While in the southeast Bahamas, northeast to east winds 15 to 25 knots, seas 5 to 8 feet over the ocean. Here's a look now at your national forecast. Here's a look now at your extended forecast through Monday. That's a look at our weather. Have a great night, everyone.
Thanks, Greg. The ZONTA Club of Nassau has launched 16 days of activism, joining the fight to end gender-based violence. 40 orange bows will be tied throughout Nassau Village in honor of 3 women killed in the community last year. Anne-Marie Davis, wife of opposition leader Philip Davis, says 2 things are missing in the fight against gender-based violence.
We want our sex crimes caught so we can have speedier hearings and convictions. I see an improvement, but we definitely want our sex crimes caught so we can have speedier hearings and convictions in this area of gender-based violence. There's just too many, and we see it manifesting itself during this pandemic. It's ugly, it's very bad, and every day we get saddened more and more. And my second theme is I still want to see the sexual offenders register.
Patricia Minnis, the wife of the Prime Minister, says it's time to get men involved in the fight.
We were engaging our men so that they can help us as women see and form a direction, because when men becomes involved, then we all begin to realize that this is not a women's issue, and women are not, as the speaker said, trying to get ahead of men, but we want to walk beside them.
Thank you for joining us for Our News Tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm KRISTINA DRAGOVICH. We'll see you right back here tomorrow night. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas.